WKYT Studios in Lexington, this is Kentucky Newsmakers with Bill Bryant.
Good morning from WKYT News. I'm Bill Bryant, hoping you're enjoying your weekend. And later on Kentucky Newsmakers, we'll hear from the Kentucky Equine Education Project, known as KEEP. The group has suddenly changed its position and now opposes casinos, which it had pushed hard for years. We'll be hearing from KEEP a little later. But first on Kentucky Newsmakers, a growing chorus of concern about Kentucky's retirement system. A group called Kentucky Government Retirees claims more than 4,000 members. They're a Facebook community. It says the Retired Employees Non-Hazardous Fund is the worst funded among state pension plans in America, with a 21% funded ratio. Jim Carroll spent a career in state government, most of that time talking about the beauty of our state as he lured in visitors as a spokesman for tourism. Now he spends his time telling us about a darker side of the Commonwealth. He is concerned about the state retirement system. He's co-founder of a watchdog group, and he's joining us here, and we thank you very much, Jim, for coming in.
My pleasure.
You did 30 years in state government.
I did.
Did you feel all along that part of your compensation was this pension that you would get in the end?
Absolutely. It's part of a contract that was made between the employee and the Commonwealth of Kentucky that said that you come to work for us, and when you retire as a deferred compensation, you will receive retirement benefits as stated in the retirement plan.
Why should state government retirees and those who are still working in state government be concerned right now about the retirement system?
Well, I think it's important to define how the retirement system is laid out. There are three basic retirement plans within the umbrella of Kentucky retirement systems. There's a county plan called CERS, which covers county employees, municipal employees. There's a state police plan. Then the plan that we're really concerned about is called the KERS Non-Hazardous Plan, which covers most state employees as well as employees of quasi-government agencies around the state that participate. This affects 37,000 retirees and 40,000 active state employees. This plan has been bleeding red ink for years and years. In 2008, it had assets of $5 billion. Today, it has assets of under $2.5 billion. And it pays out $915 million a year in benefits. So it's running out of money. It's on a downward trajectory. Now, the official position of the Kentucky retirement systems is that if it continues to meet its assumed actuarial assumptions, that it will not run out of money. And certainly I don't question the veracity of that, but the concern is we're at such a low funded ratio that the next market downturn could be really a serious situation leading to the verge of insolvency, and that would be a disaster.
Meaning that some of the pensions would be unfunded or underfunded?
There would be not enough assets to pay for the pension benefits, so that the money would have to come elsewhere, because the pensions shall be paid as a matter of contract law, and the Kentucky Supreme Court has upheld that, so that it'll have to come somewhere. Now, we're not at the point where we're insolvent, but we're at the point where we have very little cash reserves. Now, every state pension plan got killed in 08 and 09 during the market crash. We lost $750 million in 08. We lost $1.4 billion in 09. But what's instructive to us is what's happened in the last 3 years during an excellent market. Last year, we made 15.5% of our investments, yet we lost $183 million in assets.
Jim, as you know, there was an attempt to address this by the legislature 3 years ago. They came up with a plan. They put more money in.
Yes.
Was that a drop in the bucket? Well,
it's not a drop in the bucket, and it will help if we continue to get the actuarially required contribution, the employer contribution over years, several years, then yes, that will eventually lead to the point where we start seeing a growth in assets. But our concern is what happens till then. That ARC, it's called, actuarially required contribution, is assured for the current biennium. But that's all, because budget commitments are only 2 years. It needs to be also put in the next biennium and the next biennium. The actuary for KRS says in time, if we continue to get the ARC, then we'll see a reverse. But until then, we are uniquely vulnerable to a market downturn.
You have also said that the system needs to be more transparent. That is, where is it being invested, and some of the fees that are being paid for the transactions.
Actually, we really do believe that. We've posed that issue to our stakeholders, and we said, what do you think about the transparency issue? Because it is getting a lot of attention, and there is the general feeling that KRS needs to follow best practices when it comes to transparency in fees and the like. We really think that there should be more disclosure on investments, and we're into an area now of investments such as private equity that tend to be secretive, and we think that's antithetical to the running of a pension plan that is partially publicly funded.
How does it make you feel when you hear somebody who is frustrated by this say, well, now we're going to have to throw more money at state pensions?
Well, I agree with them. It's a shame that it's gotten to this point. 15 out of the last 22 years, the succession of governors and the General Assembly failed to put the amount of money that actuaries say should be put in the fund to make up the employer contribution. That should have been done all along. And that's one of the major drivers of our unfunded liability. So taxpayers are absolutely right. They shouldn't have had to. If we had no unfunded liability, the employer contribution would be about 4% of payroll. So you take all those employers that we have in there, they'd be, in the aggregate, they'd be spending like $60 million a year. But because we have this unfunded liability, they're paying almost 40% of payroll, so they're paying 10 times as much into the system because of this unfunded liability. It should never come to that. All of the financially troubled pension systems in the United States are in this shape because of underfunding.
You know, you mentioned that current employees should be concerned as well, but they've moved now to a more hybrid system, right, where it is partial pension and part a savings plan that they're putting money on that the state will then guarantee them a certain return on. Does that lessen the impact some?
Over time it will. Absolutely, as there are more new employees into the new plan, then certainly when you look at the long-term situation of the pensions, we should see less unfunded liability because that plan is going to cost less. There's no question about it. Of course, what they give up is the fact that the General Assembly can change that pension benefit at will as far as the amount that they'll put in, so that we no longer have an inviolable contract with those employees. So that's a concern, but there it is. It's an unfortunate situation for the new employees.
You came with those numbers when we first sat down, but again, what is the amount of the liability that the taxpayers of the Commonwealth of Kentucky will eventually owe to those who are in the system, and then what is there to pay it?
Well, what we'd look at is the funded ratio, when we look at how much are your assets and how much are your long-term liabilities. So in percentage terms, it's 21% and falling. It will continue to fall over the next several years. So it's really a cash flow crisis that we have, where we just don't have enough money to safely say that we're not uniquely vulnerable to market downturn. So they pay out $915 million a year in assets and expenses, in benefits and expenses, and we have under $2.5 billion to pay those annual expenses.
Now, I know you are not here to represent the teacher side. That's a whole different. The Kentucky Teachers Retirement System is different from this system as well, but they have concerns as well about their funds.
They absolutely do, and to their credit, the Teachers Retirement Management is out there with a proposal for a pension obligation bond for teachers. And one of the messages we have to the Kentucky Retirement System Board of Trustees is they need to be advocates for the fund, and they need to come to engage with the General Assembly to come up with a funding solution, and so far they've not done that.
What is your group going to do over the next few weeks to try to get attention on this issue as lawmakers arrive in Frankfort?
Well, the lawmakers are going to hear from us because we're doing a letter writing campaign. We'll do phone calls, we'll do meetings with legislators. We're just going to keep the message out there, and we're certainly, the opportunity to be here we certainly appreciate, and that's the sort of thing we'll be doing to get the message out that this needs to be fixed. And it's not about us as stakeholders, it's about taxpayers, because ultimately it comes down to paying these benefits out of however it can be done out of the general fund, and it's going to affect taxpayers one way or another. The solutions are not going to get any better a year from now, 2 years from now, 4 years from now. It's going to be the same solutions and the same problems, and there's nothing to be gained by not addressing it now. It can only get worse.
You probably see how politicians don't, you know, it's not building a bridge or a building
That's right.
or something, it is paying a bill, and it is not maybe as palatable, right?
I'm sure it is an awful thing for them to have to deal with, because that's right, there's no tangible benefit that they can see, except for the fact that they need to live up to a promise. But I can understand that this was really a difficult situation for them, and sympathetic to a point. Unfortunately, it was their policies that to some extent contributed to that. It's not all about underfunding. There are other issues, but that certainly is one of them, and so they're going to have to fix the problem that they, to some extent, created, unfortunately. I wish I had better news for them, because I know that they don't want to deal with this. It doesn't build a bridge. You know, there's no cuttings of any ribbons. It's just taking care of a promise that they've made.
Jim Carroll, you're good to come by. Kentucky Government Retirees is his group. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Hope you'll stay with us now here on Kentucky Newsmakers. Back in a moment, a reversal in the horse industry. Why a group that pushed slot machines for years is now opposed to the idea. Coming up on Kentucky Newsmakers. Welcome back now to Kentucky Newsmakers on WKYT. The Kentucky Equine Education Project was formed about a decade ago to focus on Kentucky's important horse industry. Former Governor Burton Jones was among those who put the group together to identify ways to keep horse racing viable. Early on, the group pushed for casinos at racetracks as a way to capture revenue and create entertainment venues and compete with other states that were allowing that. Now the group came to be known as KEEP through the years, has changed its position and now opposes casinos. Doug Coffin is the treasurer of the group and a longtime leader in the horse industry, and he's joining us on Kentucky Newsmakers. It's good to see you. Thanks, Doug, for coming in. Appreciate it. So KEEP pushed for years and years for slots at tracks, indicated that was a business model that would be competitive with those tracks in other states. What has changed?
You know, the market has changed, the opportunities have changed is probably the biggest thing. At that time, we were losing a lot of racing dollars and even mares because other states had bigger purses, and we were trying to level the playing field. First, thanks to the Kentucky Breeders' Fund, we've created some incentives for people to breed here and stay in Kentucky, so that's helped a lot. That was one of the biggest accomplishments of KEEP. Then the dynamics of slots has changed, where originally you had slots at track only was kind of the goal, and that seemed to be where the market and the Kentuckians wanted to be, and it certainly was where the leaders of KEEP wanted to be. That's changed, and historical racing has become a much more significant opportunity to level that playing field. When the Supreme Court approved and confirmed that historical racing was legal, it lets KEEP and its members get behind that and support it, because all we're really trying to do is provide a level playing field for Kentucky breeders and to keep them in the state of Kentucky. So I think that's what's changed, is the opportunities, and historical racing is a great opportunity, we believe, and therefore the need is different.
The group switches all the way from advocating for those slot machines at racetracks to full opposition to it at this point. Would there have been a mid-ground where, well, we'll take that too if we could get it, sort of thing?
You know, and I think that's a real good question, and we thought, and it was a unanimous vote by the members of KEEP, which is breeders, owners, some racetracks, all horse entities, not just thoroughbreds. It's quarter horses, saddlebreds, etc. And it was that you had to be clear. People needed to know what you believed in, and the resolution was to not support any casino bill at this time. KEEP wants to stay very closely involved with what's going on, any lobbying that's going on, any bills that come along. If someone else puts up a casino bill, KEEP will be there analyzing it, looking at it, etc. But the resolution is to not support it because it's believed that the historical racing offers a alternative, and it was the time to take a stand and be clear in that statement.
So as you pointed out early on here, the idea was to try to bolster the horse racing industry by allowing those slot machines at those tracks. Now, what if since you've taken yourselves out of the game, somebody then comes in and pushes standalone casinos.
Well, and I think that's a fear, because there's a lot of opportunity for a Vegas casino company to come in and try to do a standalone casino, and I don't think that's what Kentuckians want, and I don't think that, more importantly, the board made a resolution to, at this point, let's support and save the horse industry, and we feel like that wouldn't be doing that. The goal is to keep all the employees, keep all the horses, keep all the vans and veterinarians and feed suppliers, etc., in the state. And the only way you keep those things, which that's the whole reason KEEP was funded, to explain it's a multi-billion-dollar industry that supports and funds a lot of employees in the state. And we felt like you got to keep the horses here. So KEEP is more worried about keeping the horses here. The way you do that is level the playing field. If you have a standalone casino, we might not have horse racing in Kentucky one day because it'll just go away. We want the signature business to stay strong in the state of Kentucky, because it's something that I think everybody is proud of, not just people in the horse business, people that don't live in any of the areas where there's a lot of horse racing. They'll come and bring people to the races.
And you're concerned about that competition for that gambling entertainment dollar, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think historical racing is a pari-mutuel bet, but it's at the racetracks, and it does a couple of things. It keeps everything under the auspices of the Racing Commission. That's what organization controls all racing. We feel like that's important. You've already got a body that is educated and knowledgeable, and it allows the funding to go straight back to the purses, which, as you have better purses, you have better horse racing, you have more horses in racing, and then pari-mutuel wagering is better. So it kind of just is a self-perpetuating positive situation. So that's why KEEP has come out with this stance.
The horse industry seems to have weathered this deep recession that we had a few years ago, and certainly was startling for a time to the industry to see, because again, people didn't have that money for entertainment purposes. But it seems to have come back strong. How do you assess where things are right now?
I think things are much better. Everybody's breathing a sigh of relief and at least out spending money. There's I was talking to somebody yesterday trying to get some fence painted, and a lot of people are painting fence. So that's good for the industry. That's good for the economy of Kentucky. There's barns being built. There's horses being purchased. So I think it is definitely much better. It still has contracted quite a bit, and we'd like to see it at least be stable. And that's where tax equity comes in, I think. One of the big missions has always been for KEEP to promote and push for tax equity, because right now supplies feed for a horse is taxed, and supplies feed for a pig, cow, chicken, etc. is not. The state of Florida has no tax on feed and supplies. We just lost a Breeders' Cup winner named Fort Larned, who stood here last year. He's going to a farm in Florida this year. Part of it might be for tax benefits, part of it's for other reasons, but we don't want to lose stallions like that, because that's like losing a little factory. So I think the industry is definitely much better. It's stable, but we've got to hold the position and try to grow it.
Doug, what are those factors that you're always, and maybe the states you're looking at, that are always trying to eat our lunch in Kentucky when it comes to the horse industry?
Well, I mean, the biggest challenge is keeping your mares and your stallions here, because if they stay, the population stays, then all the employees and restaurants and everything else, people come here because of the horse racing and quarter horses, trail riding, and other all the horse shows. I mean, the Saddlebred show in the summer in Louisville's huge, and it gets national exposure. So we just want to keep all that. But I mean, there's always other states trying to create incentives to draw that away. So, you know, the whole goal of KEEP is to educate first the legislators and the people here, even people in our own, you know, Fayette County is very horse oriented because we've got a lot of horse farms and a lot of, you know, several racetracks, but you know, we want everybody here to come out and see what's available, whether it's a quarter horse or a saddlebred show or a thoroughbred race or a horse farm, and see the benefits economically that the horse business provides, not only for the employees that are there, but for the whole state.
What drew you into the horse industry?
My dad was a blacksmith.
Really?
My mother, you know, trained a few family horses that we had and raised 3 boys. You know, one, Steve, my older brother, was a jockey. He did pretty well, but we just grew up around it, and you know, lived on a horse farm and liked horses. We like animals, and so, you know, I'm actually a lawyer also, but I choose to try to make my living in the horse business.
How important is it that people continue to try to bring on the younger crowd, you know, to get them interested and enthusiastic about the horse industry? Keeneland obviously has found ways to engage younger people, and they use social media and so forth to get them involved. Is that what it's going to take from all facets of the industry?
I think all facets of the industry, all breeds have to use every method possible, because we're all competing against other activities for people's time. It's entertainment at the end of the day. Keeneland's done a great job at reaching out, and then they also have done a good job of providing more opportunities. You know, on Saturday morning you can go out there and bring kids for breakfast and everything, and they have activities, you know, face painting and different things that you can do. That's a great opportunity. KEEP spends a lot of outreach effort going to all the 4-H shows pretty much throughout the state. KEEP has a representative in every county. So the outreach is to try to teach and show young people that horses are great, horses are fun, and horses help feed everybody in Kentucky.
Doug Cawthon is with us from the Kentucky Equine Education Project. You know it as KEEP. They've recently reversed their position on casinos at tracks. We'll be back. We'll talk with him. What's the future of the horse industry in Kentucky? Coming up on WKYT.